Have you ever felt as if the universe deliberately pulls you away from people, from opportunities, from paths you thought were meant for you? This isolation, often unexpected, isn't a punishment. It's not a sign that everything is going wrong. Today, I want to offer a deeper perspective, one that sees these moments of darkness as meaningful rather than misfortunes. This darkness, when viewed differently, can be more valuable than we imagine. To explore this, we turn to Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists who dedicated his life to understanding the depths of the human psyche. Before we dive in, subscribe to Mind Clinic, where we explore the truths of psychology, philosophy, and the human soul. And join our community for powerful insight into personal and spiritual growth. Now, let's jump in. Jung introduced the concept of individuation, which he considered the most essential journey of life. But what is individuation? It's not just personal growth or fitting into society. It's a profound inner journey toward integrating all parts of the self, even those we fear or deny. This path demands that we confront the aspects of ourselves we've hidden, our shadow, and seek wholeness, not perfection. The journey is complex and often lonely. But this loneliness isn't a curse. It's a necessary part of transformation. Detachment from the familiar allows us to rediscover who we truly are. These moments should be seen not as exile, but as opportunities to connect with our essence. Individuation calls us to drop the masks we wear, to meet others' expectations, and look inward with honesty. It's not about withdrawing from the world, but about no longer living through others' standards. Yet, peeling back these layers, social roles, beliefs, fears, is no easy task. One of the hardest parts is confronting the shadow, the side of us we reject because it seems unacceptable or unworthy. But the shadow isn't evil, it's simply unknown and thus feared. True individuation involves acknowledging and integrating this hidden part. It takes courage, often found in solitude, where distractions fall away and we're left face to face with ourselves. This process of individuation is neither quick nor easy. To integrate our shadow means confronting our deepest fears, those parts of ourselves we've long denied. It takes real courage and an openness to what we've spent years avoiding. In this journey, solitude becomes more than refuge. It becomes a kind of inner laboratory. Life often forces this solitude upon us, whether by choice or circumstance. Though painful, it is essential. In isolation, we see ourselves more clearly, free from the constraints of societal roles and expectations. It is in this quiet that we begin to notice synchronicity, a concept Jung deeply explored. What once seemed like coincidence now appears woven into a greater pattern, revealing meaning beneath the chaos. Solitude allows us to perceive these hidden threads, the connections between our past, present, and even glimpses of the future. Time in these moments ceases to be linear. It expands, blurs. The boundaries between past experiences and future insights dissolve, offering a deeper sense of existence, a fleeting touch of eternity. This isolation often marks the beginning of what Jung and mystics like St. John of the Cross called the dark night of the soul. For Jung, it was a key stage in psychological and spiritual transformation. It is not merely a time of pain, but one of purification. In this darkness, illusions fall away. False identities, outdated beliefs, and repressed truths rise to the surface. The shadows of our psyche, long hidden, demand our attention. In solitude, we are finally forced to face these inner demons, not to destroy them, but to transform them into guiding forces. the dark night becomes a threshold. Painful, yes, but ultimately redemptive. From this internal death, a new life can emerge, clearer, more authentic, and aligned with our true self and the greater universe. Jung saw isolation not as a void, but as a sacred threshold. It separates us from the external world and ushers us inward. It's a paradox. In removing ourselves from the noise, we encounter the very essence of who we are. When the silence sets in, when the distractions fall away, the mind turns inward, reflecting on who we are, who we've been, and who we might become. In this introspection, the unconscious surfaces, not always as thoughts, but as dreams, symbols, intuitions, messages that defy logic yet feel deeply real. In solitude, these symbols find space to emerge. Questions we never thought to ask suddenly receive answers. This is the essence of Jung's insight. The unconscious is not separate from us. It lives within all of our experiences, manifesting in ways rational thought cannot always grasp. But in stillness, we can begin to listen. And in that listening, transformation begins. In solitude, the psyche begins to speak not in rational language, but in symbols. These manifestations, dreams, visions, intuitions, grow louder and more frequent the deeper we sink into isolation. At first, they may seem strange or nonsensical. Yet, they are messages from the unconscious, urgent calls to look inward, not outward. In this silence, the psyche stirs, reaching out with symbols rather than words, urging transformation. Jung believed that in these moments, we don't just access the personal unconscious, but touch the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of human experience. Here live the archetypes, the hero, the mother, the shadow, the wise old man, primordial forces that shape our thoughts, behaviors, and dreams. In isolation, these archetypes become more vivid, revealing forgotten or unexplored dimensions of ourselves. We start to sense the larger human story within us, the ancient fabric connecting us to all of humanity. Still, this encounter is not easy. Solitude is both an opportunity and a test. In the quiet, we're often tempted to escape ourselves, turning to overwork, screens, or shallow relationships to avoid confronting the discomfort within. These distractions, though comforting in the short term, only deepen our disconnection from our authentic self. Here, Jung issues a warning. To ignore the shadow is to let it grow in darkness. What we avoid will eventually manifest unconsciously through sabotaged relationships, self-destructive habits, and cycles that stunt our growth. The only true escape is through facing the shadow, integrating it, transforming it into inner strength. This process begins with stillness, with accepting isolation instead of fleeing from it. Solitude, then, becomes sacred ground, not only for confronting fear, but for rediscovering authenticity. It is a time to release the noise of others' expectations and finally ask, what do I truly want? Who am I beneath the layers? In this space, we can sort through what matters and what no longer serves us. History is filled with those who found their truest voice in solitude. Friedrich Nietzsche spent long periods in isolation in the Swiss Alps, far from academia and suffering from physical ailments. Yet it was in that very seclusion that he birthed his most profound ideas, the Übermensch, the critique of herd morality, and a vision that shook Western thought to its core. Isolation stripped away illusion and freed his voice. Similarly, Henry David Thoreau sought solitude at Walden Pond, embracing simplicity to reconnect with nature and meaning. Away from materialism and social convention, he uncovered a deeper rhythm to life, a quiet rebellion against modernity that still resonates today. These stories remind us, isolation, when embraced, becomes a crucible of clarity. It burns away what is false and reveals what is essential. In solitude, Thoreau discovered his voice. His retreat at Walden Pond allowed him to reflect on simplicity, freedom, and living by one's own values rather than conforming to societal expectations. Similarly, Nelson Mandela, during his 27 years of imprisonment, experienced extreme isolation. Yet within that void, he found clarity about his identity, his role in the struggle against apartheid, and a profound sense of shared humanity. That solitude became a crucible for inner growth, enabling him to forgive and lead South Africa into a new era. But solitude isn't always physical. It's often deeply internal. Vincent van Gogh, for instance, lived in emotional and spiritual isolation. His letters reveal a man tormented by disconnection. Yet within that existential emptiness, he unearthed a unique artistic voice. Yet, through that isolation, she learned to understand herself and sit with her emotions, forging the resilience that made her one of the most respected actresses of her time. Carl Jung himself sought solitude deliberately. At the Bollingen Tower by Lake Zurich, he immersed himself in deep reflection, distanced from daily distractions. There, he engaged with his unconscious and developed the groundbreaking concepts of archetypes and individuation. For Jung, isolation was not a retreat from life, but a sacred space for insight and transformation. These stories reveal a vital truth. Solitude is not a curse, but a gateway. When embraced consciously, isolation can become a wellspring of clarity, strength, and self-discovery. It opens the door to a deeper connection with ourselves and the world, guiding us not away from life, but into its very essence. In today's hyper-connected world, loneliness is paradoxically more widespread than ever. Despite constant communication through social media, chats, and video calls, existential loneliness deeply affects many young and adult individuals across all social contexts. This loneliness is not just physical, but primarily internal. People feel pressured to chase ideals of perfection and social success, often facing emptiness when these goals remain out of reach. Social media's polished images create a false measure of success, widening the gap between public appearance and inner authenticity. Although surrounded by others, many rarely feel truly seen, understood, or listened to. Social media fosters an illusion of connection, where friend counts and likes substitute authentic relationships, leaving people more isolated and disconnected from their true selves. Constant exposure to idealized realities fuels dissatisfaction and invisibility, pushing some to seek refuge in consumerism, activity, or superficial experiences, none of which fill the inner void. Simultaneously, traditional social and family bonds are weakening due to mobility, changing family dynamics, and fragmented communities. These shifts increase structural loneliness, characterized by ephemeral, fragile relationships and emotional isolation. Many experience physical separation from loved ones and struggle to maintain meaningful dialogue. The overwhelming influx of information and distractions undermines the ability to nurture deep relationships. While making acquaintances is easier, genuine friendships remain rare. Conversations often become superficial social rituals, hindered by distractions like phones, resulting in lost emotional and intellectual connection. Beneath this disconnection from others lies a deeper isolation, disconnection from oneself. In an era demanding constant activity and noise, individuals rarely find space to reflect and connect inwardly, exacerbating loneliness despite the appearance of constant social engagement. Inner solitude, the kind that forces us to confront our thoughts, fears, and contradictions is often avoided. The fear of facing ourselves drives many to seek distractions and external noise, creating a gap between who we truly are and the persona we show others. However, solitude can also be a powerful opportunity. Carl Jung saw it as essential for the process of individuation, the journey to becoming our authentic selves. When alone, we are compelled to listen inwardly, reflect on our true nature, and accept even our shadow sides, the parts we usually ignore. In a society that values constant connection and visibility, learning to be comfortable alone is a vital challenge and gift. Solitude helps us reclaim authenticity, freeing us from others' expectations. Only by embracing solitude can we form deeper, genuine bonds with others. Relationships based on emotional truth, not masks or social norms. In conclusion, isolation is both a challenge and a path toward realizing our fullest potential. Instead of fleeing it, we can welcome solitude as a chance for growth, reflection, and transformation. Through this process, as Jung suggests, integrating all parts of ourselves, even the darkest, allows us to live fully and authentically. Every moment of solitude then becomes an opportunity to find the inner peace often lost in the chaos of the outside world. Thank you for joining me on this journey into solitude and self-discovery. Remember, loneliness is not just a challenge, it's also a gateway to your deepest self and greatest growth. Next time you find yourself alone, don't run away. Embrace the silence, explore your inner world, and allow yourself to grow beyond fear and distraction. If you found value in this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. And don't forget to leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences with solitude. Together, we can build a community that supports authentic connection, starting from within. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember, true connection begins with knowing who you really are.